official podcast. We are your host. I am TJ Kern. That is my buddy Blake Hartsfield. Blake, it's been a while since we've done an actual pod. A lot of post-game stuff. You got the new baby. I had some stuff going on, man. Just a lot of juggling going on between the two of us. But here we are, back on another session of the pod.
Got a lot to talk about today, TJ. Looking forward to this one.
No doubt about it. This team, of course, we're talking the basketball team. But before we get into everything that's transpired over the last couple of weeks with this basketball team, Blake, how about a round of applause for that West Kitley National Championship for the indoor track and field team? And, I mean, anytime you can win a natty, that's a beautiful thing. But to do it in Lubbock, Texas, with the indoor schedule, with the outdoor still to come. So who knows what's going to happen there? Yeah,
absolutely. Credit to Coach Kitley and the men's track and field team. This is their second national championship. They went in as favorites. They were ranked number one. They took care of business. A national championship is a national championship, and it seems like they're probably been the best program in the country over the last 5 or 6 years with their second national title here. So hopefully they can back it up here with a good outdoor season.
Looking forward to that. I know a lot of people in Red Raider land were really excited over the weekend to see the boys and girls on the track side of things come home with that natty. So good for them. Give them a big wreck and ring those victory bells. But Blake, we're on here to talk about some hoops. The calendar is March. We are looking at March 11th at the time of recording this today.
1 week.
And Blake, the regular season has finished. Okay, the last time I believe we did a post game was after that debacle, losing to the Longhorns. Things were not looking good. You had 3 games left, and you had to go beat the teams you were supposed to beat. Right? We talked about it. You had a couple road games. Road games in this conference are always tough, and they even got off to a terrible start in the West Virginia game. Let's not forget that. But they were able to rally the troops. Coach McCaslin got the group together. Now, all 3 of these games were played without the big man, the big fella, our favorite guy, Warren Washington, as he's still recovering from a foot injury. So that being said, got to give a lot of credit to Robert Jennings and Emily Yalaho for holding it down in the big moments there down low.
Yeah, TJ, super proud of this team. They could have easily folded up and quit. Pop Isaacs was still in his slump. They didn't have Warren Washington. They had just gotten blown out, in my opinion, in back-to-back games on the road to UCF and then at home against Texas. But they did rebound, and things, to your point, could have gotten really ugly there, TJ. I think at one point in that first half against West Virginia, they started like 1 of 14 from the floor, and they were down by 16 points.
Yeah, 16. I believe.
Yeah, 16 points at one point. I'm kind of sitting there going, oh my God, this is going to be a team that was solidly in the field, might just collapse all the way out of the tournament here. They do come back. Pop Isaac seems to have gotten right. You're getting contributions down low from Yahalo and from Robert Jennings. Rumor is Warren Washington. Well. Yeah, the rumor is Warren Washington is very close, that he probably could have played against Baylor had they not already locked up the 4 seed. He was not wearing the boot. He was in warmups as opposed to street clothes like he had been in for all the previous games. So that's encouraging. But look, they took care of business. 81-70 on the road at West Virginia. Then they turn around and blow out Oklahoma State on the road, 75-58, which, TJ, I will argue that was the most important maybe of those 2 games, because that game really helped your net rating, which was starting to sink a little bit after having gotten blown out twice yourself. And then they cap it off with a really, really nice quad 1A win that probably moved them up a full seed line. We'll get into that, the bracketology, here in a little bit. But they beat Baylor 78-68. They got out early to a nice lead, which was refreshing. Baylor did close the gap in the second half with a little bit of a classic Big 12 ref show there. I think they had our 3 leading scorers all with 4 fouls with like 13 minutes to go in the second half. I'm kind of going, oh no. But they hit a couple big threes as soon as Baylor got it to within 2. They pushed it right back out, and they cruised to a 78-68 win. Super proud of this team, TJ. Grant McCaslin, in his first season, goes 22-9 overall with an 11-7 Big 12 record. That is good for a tie for third with Baylor, but you lose the tiebreaker for seeding purposes because they beat Iowa State and you did not. And TJ, that 11-7 could have easily been 13-5. I think that there was a couple of games that they would have liked to have had back. Cincinnati at home is the first one that comes to mind. Texas at home is one that comes to mind. At TCU, where they were up by double digits in the second half. And then, frankly, I thought they laid an egg at UCF. I think that was a very winnable game as well. So, look, all in all, great first season for Coach McCassin. He's building momentum. They seem to have turned a corner. Like I said, Pop Isaacs is out of his slump. They're playing good basketball going into the Big 12 tournament this week and into the NCAA's next week, which is all you can ask for this time of year.
And ultimately, I mean, when we were talking about this team back in October, November, we were like, man, we don't know what to expect. Devin Cambridge goes down pretty early in the year. You're thinking, oh no. And then here comes Kerwin Walton. I mean, that guy stepped up. He was a guy that we thought was kind of washed and towards the end of the bench and wasn't going to get any run. But Kerwin Walton's performance when Devin Cambridge stepped out with the injury, man, this team really needed that. I believe is still leading the nation in 3-point percentage. I don't know that.
No,
Yeah,
he is over 50%. He's 51%. And
his contribution can't be understated, as well as like you said, the backcourt. Joe Toussaint and Pop. Those guys went through. Look, it's a long gauntlet. You're gonna have tough games. You're gonna have tough stretches, but for the most part, those two guys kept you in games. And then I gotta say, your guy.
He is my guy. He was my guy from the
I
get-go.
took Chance McMillan and Joe, and you were like, give me the big fella and Darian.
I said Darian. I said that back in May or whatever it was when they recruited him from Nevada. That was going to be a big time player. TJ, look, I'm not taking anything away from any of the guys you just mentioned. Kerwin Walton's restoration with McCasland has been fantastic. Joe Toussaint had some ups and downs, but as a whole was a positive player for you this year, helped you to win some games. Obviously, Pop Isaacs is the perceived best player on this team. And they did a lot. They lost Devin Cambridge and Warren Washington, so both of their two starting, bigs are gone. And I know Cambridge is a big in quotations, but he was slotted to play the 4 on this team. But TJ, the best player on this team, and it's not arguable. It is not close. It is without doubt Darion Williams. TJ, look, and I'm about to get on to the Big 12 here because he got absolutely worked when it came to conference awards. He gets put on the second team instead of being on. Was he second or I thought he was second team.
Him and Pop were on the third team.
Oh, there you go. So so even worse. TJ, you're a baseball guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, self-proclaimed baseball guy.
Okay. Can you explain to people who don't know, and I think this is pretty common knowledge at this point for most folks that somewhat even know about baseball casually, but what the WAR stat is in baseball, please?
Yeah, so the WAR stat is basically the all-encompassing. It stands for wins above replacement. So your output of performance over an average middle of the road replacement, and how many wins of a difference that is. So that's the elementary school definition of what wins above replacement or WAR is in baseball.
Yep. So there's a basketball version of a WAR. And you can find these kinds of things on the big analytics sites, Hasla, KenPom, Trovic, etc. The player of the year in the Big 12 was Jamal Shed from Houston. 100% deserved. He's a fantastic player on both ends of the floor. Tip your hat as you just did. You tip your hat to him. He had a 5.5 WAR, led the conference in efficiency in Big 12 games. TJ, you know who was number 2 in the Big 12 in WAR?
You got a nice little smile on your face, so I'm pretty sure it's Darion Williams.
It was Darion Williams. He had a 5.1, so he wasn't that far off from Jamal Shed. For him to go and be placed on, I guess I thought it was the second team, it's the third team, is a joke. For him to not win newcomer of the year and for them to give it on reputation alone to Hunter Dickinson, who had a 4.1 WAR over the course of the Big 12 season. So Darion Williams was a full game better by himself in terms of wins for Tech versus what Hunter provided for Kansas.
Well, not only that, let me just throw this nugget at you. How about Hunter Dickinson getting newcomer of the year to give Bill Self his worst conference season in 20 something years?
TJ, there's no argument for it. Tech beat Kansas head to head by 30. Their worst loss on the road since 1952 until they got waxed by Houston the last game of the year, which was even worse for them. Tech finished ahead of them in the standings. Darion Williams had a full game, better WAR number at a 5.1 versus a 4.1. And TJ, the one that really grinds my gears as a Tech fan, the fact that Kevin McCullough got put on the first team for the All Big 12 when he didn't play in the Big 12 for more than half of the season over a guy like Darion Williams, and they play the same position. They're kind of that big guard, small forward, just true wing type player, is a joke. Look, all the credit in the world to Darion. I think you know how I feel about that guy. I think he is. I love his game. He can hit the three consistently. He can take it. He can score with his back to the basket against smaller guards. He can take bigger guys and put it on the floor. He plays good defense. He is our leading rebounder with Warren Washington out. I think he had like 6 double doubles in our last 7
Yeah,
games.
double machine.
TJ, he was outstanding. And the thing that drives me even the most crazy about the Big 12, the game that he played against Kansas, where he was literally perfect. Like he had a perfect game. He scored 31 points. He was 12 of 12 from the floor, like perfect. Okay. He didn't even win Big 12 Player of the Week, despite the fact that he was given National Player of the Week, if that shows you the bias in this conference. So it's a joke, but look, that guy's going to be here for another 3 years. And TJ, if he stays all 3 years, which I think that he will, we're talking about a guy that could go down as maybe the best player that Texas Tech has ever had in terms of his career at school.
Not only that, the fact that him and Pop are getting to do it together after growing up, playing ball out there in Vegas, coming to the LBK, and then teaming up and being the two best players as sophomores on a team that has a top 4 seed and a bye into the quarterfinals of the conference tournament already. I mean, so the future for Coach McCaslin, I mean, is crazy bright.
Well, TJ, you just look at this roster alone. The only 2 guys that you're for sure losing are Joe Toussaint, who I think is look, Joe Toussaint's a nice player. I think he's a replaceable player. And Warren Washington. Now, this team needs to go find a big or two in the portal to complement what Yahalo and Jennings can give you. But you look at the rest of the roster, right? Devin Cambridge has already said he's coming back. Pop Isaacs and Darion Williams should both be back. Chance McMillan should be back. Kerwin Walton can take his super senior season next year.
No reason not to.
No reason not to. He's not playing pro ball. So I'm sure we can come up with some sort of NIL deal that will make him more than he would make overseas, which is where he'd be headed. TJ, this team, if they can find a big or two, has a chance to not only, they were really good this year, they have a chance to be a top 10 team in the country next year, a legitimate bona fide come into the season national title contender. And that's exciting. And that's a credit to McCaslin.
And like you said, I mean, you could replace Joe with another solid guy out of the portal. Man, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. I mean, and look, we talked about it from the beginning of the season. Hey, we don't know what Coach McCaslin's going to really do here. First year, a lot of transfers, but got to give that man. I mean, and he's getting gypped in these Coach of the Year votes.
I don't think he would have ever won it, TJ. I think that there's
Kelvin
a lot of
Sampson deserves Coach of the Year.
Sampson coming in. I mean, yeah, Houston was supposed to be good, but to come in and to play as well as Houston has played in their first year in the Big 12 is really impressive. And there've been a couple of other ones. The guy at Utah State, I know, is really highly regarded for what he did this year. The guy at Washington State, when's the last time they were good? But they're a top 25 team. So there's a couple of good candidates, but the fact that he's not even being mentioned, I think, is a little disrespectful to the job that the McCaslin has done, especially given that he took over a dumpster fire with what Adams left him after his second season. He got a late start because of his character to not leave North Texas in the middle of an NIT run, not even an NCAA tournament run, but an NIT run. He wanted to see it through with his kids before he landed and put boots on the ground in Lubbock and started evaluating his current roster. And then after a week of that, was able to start recruiting. So he got a late start, and you can't say enough about what that guy's been able to do. TJ, he's a winner. I saw a number that, his last 3 jobs have been Texas Tech, North Texas, and Arkansas State. The previous year, he took over a team that won less than 14 games, was a sub 500 team. And he's come in and he's won 20 games in all 3 of those first years. That's coaching. And there was games this year in the Big 12 that we were frustrated. Some of that was injury related. Some of that's, there was games where I think that you got out talented on the court. But I don't think there was very many times this year that we got out schemed. And I would argue, and we've talked about it on this podcast and on post games, that Tech was number one in the nation coming out of stoppages. So an opportunity where the coach got to draw up a play, whether that's a TV timeout or an actual timeout. They were number one offense and defense combined efficiency out of those situations. To me, that's coaching. We were the best second half team on efficiency ratings in the Big 12. So halftime adjustments, that's coaching. I don't think he gets out schemed very often. And we got a guy that's young enough and has enough ties to the university that he could really build something special here. Beard was always going to go to Texas with the way that that went down. As much as when he was here, I wanted to believe Beard was bought in at Tech. His colors really showed when he left and how he did it. Adams was never going to be the long-term answer, right? Adams was
with his
given the
age.
job.
Really
Well, yeah,
close.
exactly. He was, he's in his upper 60s when he got the job. He was never going to be the long-term answer. He was a stopgap that was going to keep continuity, and he did that for a season before the wheels fell off. But TJ, you've got a guy that's young. He's hungry. He's a winner. He seems to be of good moral standing, which can't be said for all of the previous Tech coaches here recently. With both having off the court stuff. He comes from the Scott Drew tree, which has proven to be a really good coaching tree with Jerome Tang and now McCasland and other guys. So he's got a chance to really do something special here.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because there's been some rumors on the interwebs today that
No
Porter
shot.
Moser from OU is going to go to DePaul, back
No
to his
shot.
Chicago roots.
Yeah.
And there's been some people saying that McCaslin would be great at OU, and
No
I
shot.
mean, dude, the Tech guys, Tech Twitter's really
No
rallied
shot.
behind. There's no way he would
Look,
take that job.
look, Potter Moser is leaving Oklahoma or is rumored to be leaving Oklahoma. One, he's a Chicago guy, but any Big 12 team in Oklahoma is a big time athletics department, right? I wouldn't call them a big time basketball program, but they're a big time athletics department. They've got resources, they've got NIL money. He's got everything he could possibly need to compete at OU. The fact that he is willing to leave Oklahoma and go to the worst Power Six basketball job in the country, I mean, DePaul is horrible. Okay, that school is
Isn't
not
that
going to
where
turn.
Elijah Fisher ended up?
Yeah, they're not going to turn around and hire Grant McCassin from Tech. Um, Again, he's got too many ties to the university. Tech he will get a raise this offseason and an extension. He'll become one of the top 10 to 15 highest paid coaches in the country, as he deservedly at this point. He's going to have all of the resources he could ever want NIL wise. He's got the new practice facility. He's got a great home. Like, no chance does he take the Oklahoma job. And frankly, I don't know if there's a job that he does leave Tech for, because again, like when he says this is home, unlike Beard, like there's actually like legitimate ties here, right? It's where he met his wife. His wife went to school there. He spent 7 years in Lubbock.
The kids seem to really like it. I mean, to go back to your point about him being pretty grounded, right? His kids are at a young age. So, I mean, it gives them a
No
chance to really
chance.
grow up in Lubbock.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the celebration video after of Coach Buffington's kid out there breaking
Yeah.
it down, doing his little dance.
McCaslin
And
was
like
doing it right
all the
behind
kids
him.
in the locker room, right? And all the
Yeah.
players are like, hey, go,
Yeah.
go, go. So I thought that was really cool and a culture point.
Well,
Of
and
what his
you
program is
listen
right
to him talk in press conferences, TJ, and in the Baylor game or after the Baylor game, he brought up the Kitley and the national title for the track and field team and said, I'm so proud of those guys, and it's a great accomplishment for our university. And you never heard Beard talk about stuff like that, right? Beard was all about his program, and he would say us, but he was referring to the basketball team only. He There's so many similarities. Personality wise and culture wise between McCaslin and McGuire. And I don't think anybody believes for a second McGuire's going anywhere. Like, Texas
now.
could open up tomorrow, and I think McGuire would look at Austin and go, no thanks. Like, I really truly believe that, right? And now Texas is not opening up. They're pretty happy with Sarkisian, but my point stands.
We
There's a
got
lot of
two dudes.
yeah, and they both seem to really be bought in. So, like I said, he's young, he's going to be here for a long time, and he's got a chance to really build something special.
And we are the nation's official podcast. I am TJ Kern. That is Blake Hartsfield. You want to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff that you see on the bottom of the screen. Make sure you follow us on X, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. Glad to be here with you. And Blake, let's get into it, man. Kansas City. This thing is a fun preview of what's to come in March. We're in March, but of course, when you say March, you mean the big dance. That
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. But every game in Kansas City is going to be just like it was during the league season. I mean, it's going to be intense. The refs are probably going to let them play a little bit. We hope.
maybe
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, getting that bye is
double
huge.
buy, double buy.
Double bye, yeah. So then you get a chance to go. If you win one game, just win one game. If you get blown out by Houston, whatever. I'm not, and we talked about it a little bit briefly before we hit record on this. I don't know that I need Warren Washington playing in Kansas City. I'm for one. I'm on the John Calipari school of this. John Calipari does not give a damn about the conference tournament. He's all about the big dance. And so, yeah, while it would be nice to win a conference tournament and get that automatic bid, maybe even move up to a 3-line,
You win the Big 12
3 or 4
tournament.
line.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, look, if you were to do that, I mean, that would be something special. But at what point, do you get burned out? For the big dance. I'd rather be playing well for the big dance.
so they're playing well regardless. I don't think anything that could happen on even getting blown out on, I believe that game would be Friday. No, sorry, that it would be Thursday because Friday's semifinal, Saturday's championship. Even getting blown out in that game, if it's to BYU, I don't think that would be something that would derail this team going into next week. I think that they're playing well. I think they've turned a corner. Um, TJ, the Big 12 tournament's like a Sweet 16. I mean, seriously, this is as tough of a this is the toughest conference tournament in the country. I am of the opinion, like you, Warren Washington should not play. Save him for next week, and anything he can give you is a bonus. I think he's a very plug and play for this team. So I'm not worried about chemistry issues or anything like that. Look, I think at worst right now they're a 7 seed, and we can talk about the Big 12 tournament all we want, but I care about next week. So looking kind of at this profile and at this resume, I've got it pulled up here. These last 3 games have really helped them. TJ, I think at worst they're a 7. They're 30th in the net ranking, which is a little low. And it makes no sense to me because Michigan State, who is every bracketologist in the country has as a last 4 in, first 4 out kind of team because they lost again this weekend, is number 20 in the net. So the net ranking, while important, and I do believe in it, can be a little skewed at times. They're 25th in KenPom, 24th in BPI. But TJ, the one that I care the most about and the one that the committee cares most about is the SOR, which is strength of record, which basically goes through and ranks every team based on how hard it was for them to acquire the record that they ended up with, where they played, who they had playing. It takes into account injuries, who the other team had playing and available. TJ, they're number 18. The reason that's significant, wind the clocks back 2 weeks ago when the committee did their top 16 reveal. The 16 teams that were in that reveal on the 1 to 4 lines in each region were 16 of the 17 highest SORs in the country, and Tech has number 18. They have no bad losses on this resume. We've talked about that extensively, not taking a bad loss at West Virginia, not taking a bad loss at Oklahoma State. They're 5-8 in quad 1. That's 8 of their 9 losses, which 5 quad 1 wins is outstanding. They're 4-1 in quad 2. So collectively, they're 9-9 across, quads 1 and 2. That's really good. They've got signature wins in Austin, in Oklahoma, or I'm sorry, in Norman, against tournament teams. They've got quad 1A wins at home against Brigham Young, Baylor, and Kansas. They've turned in a really good resume. At worst, they're a 7. I am of the belief that they're at the very top of the 6 line, knocking on the door to the 5 line. And to your point, a win a win on Friday in their first Big 12 game. I'm sorry, on Thursday in their first Big 12 game, I think would push them into the 5 line. So,
which is that dreaded, for all you bracket people out there, the dreaded 5-12 upset pick.
That's the most overrated upset pick in the country. At the end of the day, people like to talk about it because it's a trendy, flashy thing or whatever. 5 seeds win like 80% of the time. Okay, so I'm not afraid of that at all. I would love a 5 seed. I would love a 6 seed. A 7 seed would be good too. What I wanted to avoid and was the 8-9 line, and after the Texas game, they were kind of on that 8-9 line, which gets you a really tough first round game. But if you happen to get through it, then you got to play a 1 seed, and I
Yeah,
don't want to play. I don't want to play a 1 seed, and all of the 1 seeds are basically playing home games with the way that they do the tournament. So they've gotten out of that line, and I think they've given themselves a really good chance to make a run to get through the first weekend.
and I think, look, we've talked about it a bunch. We wanted to, after last season, the two of us were pissed. I mean, we had gotten to a point where this program was going to make the tournament, and last year's team was such a disaster. It was so tough to cover for us, um, and then to have the short off season with McCaslin and everything, all the unknowns. Here we are back in the tournament. I think if you can get one win, I'm cool. You're back in the tournament. You met your expectations, right? Coach may say something different. Coach is like, hey, we want to play on Monday night for a national championship. That's our goal. Great. But as an alum, as somebody that covers this team, watches this team on a night in and night out basis, obviously talks about it with you. I mean, if you can get out of the first round, get to the second round, and it's all about matchups at that point. And then that's where I think being in the best conference in the country and playing in these games night in and night out will give you an advantage and give you a chance to make a Sweet 16.
TJ, there's a reason Big 12 teams in the last 5 years have been incredibly successful in March Madness. Um, Iron sharpens iron, and I mean the Big 12 from Houston all the way down to Oklahoma, who's the 10 seed. It is as tough, as competitive as you will find. So it's been a great year. We'll see what they can get done on Thursday. We'll see if they can get done next week. But I'm so incredibly proud of the effort that they've put in. They've made the tournament, which you and I both said would be the marker of a really, really successful first season for McCaslin, and they've played so well that our expectations have
They
shifted.
overplayed expectations and had some adversity along the way.
Absolutely. So well done.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, now it's just buckle up and enjoy
Enjoy
some
the ride.
basketball.
Yeah, enjoy the
Yeah,
ride.
see what we could do. So, hey, great first year as far as a regular season goes. Way to get us back on a national map. It was funny. They had the Big 12 standings, and we were the only team that wasn't ranked until this morning, and then they snuck us in there at 25. And it's hilarious to me, how the seeding works. And of course, we've talked about it, the analytic part, the strength of schedule part, right? That was not good to Tech, but they're ahead of Kansas. There's BYU, there's Baylor, who they've beaten, right? Like, I mean, all these teams that you're right there with, and you're talking about a 6-7 line, maybe a 5 if you get there, and then you're playing all these teams neck and neck without your big man that are probably going to be on the 2 or 3 line.
Yeah, and I'm of the belief they're being over penalized for the non-conference strength of schedule. To me, this is a team that looks like you're a 3 seed, at worst a 4 seed, which they could potentially get. I mean, hell, you go beat Houston in the semifinal, that moves you up a line in and of itself.
Yeah, I
So
mean, if you're able to do that and get a couple wins in Kansas City, including a win over Houston, now you're really talking, because now you may top that 4 line. You may get 4 line with another win, two more quality wins in Kansas City. So, and at that point, you can really make a run.
yeah.
So we're excited here at the Nation. We got a lot of big time stuff coming up for you guys out there. Pay attention here in the next couple of days. We've got some big important things dropping. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, X. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Blake, anything else tonight? Or are we just going to wrap it up and say wreck 'em and get out of here?
Wreck 'em.
Wreck 'em. Hey, pay attention. Kansas City this week. I'll be watching. So good luck to the team out there. And Coach, congratulations on a great first year. And we'll be talking to you soon.